All right. Hello, everyone. We are live. Join in. Come on in the house or come on in the room. So definitely when you join, share with others, share it on your page so others can see. Because again, the goal of S.H.E.R.O Spotlight is to help as many people as possible. So when you join, share it on your personal pages. Everybody is still joining. I'm gonna go ahead and get started and share with you all. For those who are new to S.H.E.R.O Spotlight, welcome. And to my oldies but goodies, welcome again, welcome back. And so S.H.E.R.O, how it started, the S.H.E.R.O Spotlight. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I've been working in the mental health field for over 20 years. And during the pandemic, there was a great need for mental health. And so I started doing these Saturday Seeds where every Saturday I was giving like really short videos of some words of wisdom just to help people, because I do understand everybody can't afford therapy. And then God gave me this vision, S.H.E.R.O Spotlight, because when I was going through my darkest moment and dealing with depression, going through a divorce, I felt like I was alone. And being a therapist, knowing there's many people that deal with that, but also deal with depression. But I didn't want to seek help. And again, you're probably saying, well, you was a therapist. Why didn't you seek help? You know they can help, right? But it was, again, there was the stigma too, for me, even with me being a professional in this field. And so I finally did seek help, and I finally did go to therapy, and it did change my life. So I am a therapy advocate. Not only do I provide therapy, but I'm definitely an advocate as well for it. And so with S.H.E.R.O Spotlight, I really just wanted to spotlight a mother each month that exemplifies my acronym of S.H.E.R.O. And as you all know, S.H.E.R.O is a female hero, but I created an acronym that helped me get out of my dark moment when I was dealing with depression. So S stands for sacrificing for my child. H is healing from my past hurts. E is evolving into what God wants me to be. R is revealing my truth. And O is obtaining my goals and happiness. By me doing all those things, I'm in a good place. Like I said, happiness, I feel like I'm here. I'm out here striving, obtaining my goals. And so I wanted other people to hear other mothers' stories as well. And when you're going through those tough times, knowing that you're not alone, there's somebody else who may have went through the same struggle as you. So it's good to see them and see them now reach their place of success. So this is what this is all about. And we're loving and we're here to support our S.H.E.R.Os. And today I have with me Enisa Colon, my Puerto Rican sister from Florida. So glad to have her. And she's going to be transparent tonight and share her story. It takes a lot of courage for these women to do that. And we're beginning the year off because, again, I started S.H.E.R.O Spotlight last year. So this is year 2. And Enisa is starting us off. And I'm so excited about having her here tonight and her sharing her story. So Enisa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you so much, Alicia. Again, like I stated yesterday, I just truly am grateful for you allowing me this space to share my story.
You're welcome.
I am Enisa Colon. I am 32 years old. I'm a mother of 3. I have 2 living, a 13 and a 10-year-old, and I have 1 son who I lost at 17 weeks gestation. That loss changed me.
Right.
That loss made me who I am today. I also am still a full-time worker. I work for auto insurance. I adjust estimates. And yeah, I'm just out here just trying to live my purpose, just trying to flow how God has intended me to. I feel like the loss of my son was a huge wake up for me. And I'm just ready to make him and my 2 children that are living and my family proud of me.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And so we're going to get more into that. And so this year, what I decided to do, I was going to break down each segment based on my acronym. So the S is sacrificing for your children. We all know as a mom, you make a lot of sacrifices. Sometimes it's a struggle. And for me, sometimes being a single mom, it's just me. So sometimes there's a lot that I sacrifice. And so you were raised in a single parent household and have a close relationship with your mother. What have you learned about sacrifice from your mom, and how do you demonstrate that with your children as a single mom?
Sacrifice for my mom meant in everyday life. Every day she sacrificed for us. She raised 3 girls all on her own. Even when my father was there, she did it on her own, you know?
Right.
So when you talk about sacrifice, it's something I've seen my whole life. Living on survival is something I've seen my whole life. What was the second part of that question, Alicia?
How do you demonstrate sacrifice with your children as a single mom?
How I demonstrated is pretty much the same way as the way that my mother demonstrated it to me. You know, it's that every day, waking up every day to make sure that they have what they need, is a huge sacrifice. I would say the one thing that I've sacrificed for my children, truly would be my youth. I became a mother so young. I was a mom I got pregnant at 18, but had Jaden at 19. So I would say the one thing that I sacrificed was my youth. But now going through the loss of my son, that was one thing about being pregnant 2 years ago that I was really excited. I was 30. I may have not have had everything in the world, but I was in a position where I knew it was not going to be the way it used to be. And I was like really excited about that, you know, because I was so young with the other ones.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I had to sacrifice everything in a sense, you know, looking back on it, I don't regret it, because who would have known if I would have really be a mother to this day? You know what I mean? What if I would have waited and I can never produce again? You know, so there's things and there's unknowns and there's reasons why things happen that you don't know in the moment, but later on it's revealed to you. So as much as sacrificing my youth was big to me, I wouldn't change it. I would do it 10 times over to have the children that I have today. So as much of a sacrifice as it was, I do it all over, because they literally are my motivation. They keep me moving, you know, they keep me young, you know, and I'm really grateful to be their mother. I'm grateful that they chose me.
Awesome. I love that. Now we're going to go into the next is healing from my past hurts. Healing is so important because in order to grow, you have to heal.
Absolutely.
And you dealt with abandonment from your father at a young age. So how did that impact your life?
Growing up, I was, if you ask my sisters, they would tell you I was daddy's world. Like that was my ace boom coon. He left at 5. But a lot of people don't know my father was an alcoholic. And when I was 5, that was the last straw for my mom. My father got in an accident with me in the car and destroyed my whole left side of my face from the airbag, because, like, not being an adult, he put me in the front seat of that car knowing he was drunk all day. So that really ended I want to say that's what the last straw, and that is what ended my mother and father's marriage. At that point, he made me choose. He made me and my sister choose, basically, who were we going to be with, my mom or him. But for him, he never demonstrated stability. He never demonstrated that we were number one. He never demonstrated a true care for us. He loved us. We were his kids. But when you talk about a care, he didn't demonstrate that. So me and my sister that was living with my mom at the time, we decided to choose my mom, and he left. Was gone for about 5 years. I didn't know whether my dad was alive or not.
Oh, wow.
It was a very abusive relationship that my parents had. And unfortunately, it's something that I also, because I was in that growing up, mirrored those same behaviors.
That's right.
You know, as much as I said I did not want to be like that, as much as I said I wanted more, as much as I said, you know, that wasn't going to consume me, or I still mirrored it because it was the behaviors that I seen my whole life. It took a lot of healing, a lot of healing. And where I see my father is how I interact with men. Where I see how his abandonment affected me is in my relationships with men. It's in my relationships with friends as well. When people decide that it's so quick to be able to get up and leave, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Well, why is this so different for you? Because my father did it. You know what I mean? I'm his blood. So if it was easy for him, it's easy for you, you know? So it's something that I've learned that I had to heal from, and that, yes, it happened to me, but it doesn't define me.
Oh, I love that.
You know? And the people that decide to walk away, they walk away because they're behaviors that are theirs, not mine. You know, it's things that they are dealing with, not things that I've done. And I think for the first time in my life, I could truly say when someone leaves, I don't think anything bad about myself. That abandonment doesn't hurt no more, because I know Inisa, and I know what I bring to my tables. I know my heart. I know how much I pour into others. So if it's easy for you to leave, that's fine. But I had to heal from that. I had to heal from the abandonment of my father to even be able to allow the abandonment for others not to affect me.
Wow, that's amazing. And being a therapist, I know that takes a lot, because you said a lot of people who've been abandoned, they think it's their fault. They have difficulties in relationships because of that. And you, like you said, it takes learning and also healing, and not placing blame on yourself, but also understanding your triggers and understanding what things make you feel that way or make you feel abandoned, but also finding within yourself, how can you feel whole?
Correct.
How can you feel secure without having to rely on someone else? Because sometimes people who have dealt with abandonment become codependent on others.
Yes.
They want to have that security. They don't want that person leaving them. So they may deal with a lot of unhealthy relationships, a lot of abuse, because they don't want to have that feeling of being alone again or someone leaving them again. So amazing work that you're doing. So I really love your input on that. And so next thing I want to talk about when it comes from healing and dealing with healing is in 2020, like you were talking about earlier in the introduction, that you were pregnant. That was during the pandemic, and you lost your son. And share a little bit, and whatever you're comfortable with, share that with the audience.
So baby McKenny's loss was very unexpected. Not to say that I never thought it could happen to me, but I never thought it could happen to me. When I found out that I had lost him,
take your time. And while she's getting herself together, I mean, this is transparency. It takes a lot. And when it comes with grief, I mean, there's no time limit on grief, because it's still a part of a person. And so when I have clients who, are dealing with grief, I always tell them it's no time limit on it. Some days you're going to feel great. Some days you're not. Don't feel like you have to solve this issue or whatever. You're going to have your days. And everybody heals differently too when it comes to grief, or grieve differently. But yes, go ahead and finish sharing.
But the day that I found out that my son was no longer with me was supposed to be one of the best days of our lives. I had just hit 20 weeks. I was about to find out his gender. We had family coming in for the gender reveal party. We had went grocery shopping that Monday before. Texts going out to sisters-in-laws saying, hey, after this visit, I'm coming to you with envelopes. Like, everything was in motion, That doctor's visit is one I'll never forget. I walked in, I greeted my ultrasound tech as I normally do. We conversed, and I explained to her that I did not want to see anything, but I did want to see my baby. you know, like if we could just do the gender part, get that out of the way, but that way I could still see my baby. We were in COVID, so at the time, baby McKinney's father could not be there. So this is all on me. I had to do all my doctor's appointments by myself. Everything was on me. But we did FaceTime. That was our thing. I would call him while he was at work, and we would FaceTime, and we would get to see the baby and its movements and its growth, you know, and that's kind of how we did it. So that way we can share those moments together. But that day it was different. I remember walking in the room talking to her, and she just was really quiet. And I'm like, what's going on with her, you know? And she explained to me that I needed to open my eyes. I think I was there for only like 5 minutes. And in me opening my eyes, I looked at the screen, and the screen was just gray. I just remember a gray screen. She couldn't explain it to me. So she had a doctor that I'd never even seen before come inside of my room and try to explain to me the worst news that I could have ever heard in my life. I remember just screaming.
Mm-hmm.
I was by myself. I didn't know when I had lost him. I had no signs, I had no bleeding, I had no water, I had nothing. I had no indication that something was even wrong in the first place.
Right. Yes, you definitely get a lot of
I would have
love
done
out
everything.
there. Right. Yeah.
So I remember she hit me with, you know, me needing to make a decision as far as how I was going to go about the next step. I decided that I was going to give birth to baby McKinney, and not a lot of people understood why. I had a lot of people be like, girl, what are you doing? You know, but to me, baby McKinney, yes, baby McKinney was only, when I had lost him, he was the size of 17 weeks. That means my son lived in me 3 weeks prior to me knowing, prior to me finding anything out. My child was loved. I didn't know what I had. There was just a lot of factors in that whole decision making that I knew in order for me to be able to move on, I had to be extremely strategic. And in a sense, I went into survival mode. What do I need to do now to be able to move on to the next? And I decided I was going to give birth. So that Sunday, I went in, gave birth. The one thing that if I could go back and change anything, it would be to hold my son. I didn't hold my son. I was afraid. I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to let go.
Right.
I was afraid that every day after that would have just been so much harder.
Right.
But now sitting here 2 years later, I can't say I would go back and change it, because I know everything happens for reasons. But it is one thing that I truly wish I would have done.
Right. Wow.
Upon leaving, I did see him. I spent my moments with him because he deserved that. And I left with a box. They gave me a box. And instead of leaving that day with my baby, I left with a box.
Wow.
And no answers. I was told that they would run tests, and they would run tests on my blood. I went through extensive testing afterwards, and no answers.
Wow.
How do you live on with that? You know,
hard.
you've given birth, twice. You know, you're young, you're healthy. They're telling you that nothing is wrong. They can't find out any reasons, but your baby's not here.
Mhm.
I think that was the hardest thing.
Right.
And not only so much for me, but this was my man's first child.
Mhm.
As a woman, our job is to give birth, to give children, to bear children. That's our job. I felt worthless again.
Oh,
I
wow.
felt like I wasn't doing what I needed to do as a woman because my body couldn't do it, what it needed to do. So not only did I deal with the loss of my child, I dealt with a lot of mental, a lot of reprogramming and trying to like regain my worth because I was truly losing it.
Right. Wow. 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 That was so just so impactful, just so devastating, because I can't imagine. You know, my heart goes out to you. I wish I could hug you. You're getting a lot of hugs and love over here in the chat. It's just like, oh, I just want to squeeze you tight. Now, how are you able to heal from that?
So I was stuck. And I say stuck because that's exactly what it was. I was stuck. It wasn't until July of 2021 where it was like the first time I could breathe again. I went to a retreat and it was a spiritual retreat. And I've always been spiritual. I grew up Catholic, but my mother's always been spiritual. Right, and just to clarify, spiritual people still believe in God. Right. Let's just clarify. But my mother has always been spiritual, as well as Catholic. So when I went to this retreat, I was able to see the spiritual side of my mother come back out. And I was able to start to see life through a different lens that I never seen it before. Right. And I was around women that would hear me and they would give me advice or connect me to someone that could give me advice or help me. And that's really what it was. In that group, one of the girls' mothers, I reached out to her and she completely changed my outlook. Sister Nayera, I will gratefully and always thank you for everything. Because when I say that woman helped me gain my life back. Awesome. And it was the things that she said that truly started me deciding that I was going to live differently. She said to me that I had to learn to celebrate him, that I had to stop mourning him, and that I had to let him go. When she said that, I boohoo cried. I'm like, there is no way I'm getting rid of my baby's absence. You got me messed up. Like, I was freaking out. And she's like, no, like, release him. Allow him to move on and do what he needs to do, but release him mentally, release him, you know, and learn to celebrate him. When you feel it, write him a letter, you know, when you want to talk to him, you know, but the more that you mourn him, the more that you keep him stagnant. And that changed me. Wow. You know, he's not happy. He doesn't see me happy. How is he going to be happy? Like those little words that she said, like still like sting me every time I start to like get down, you know, and I'm like, I know he wouldn't want this. Let me start doing something different, you know? And it was just her insight that really allowed me to breathe again. It took a while to take her advice. I sat on it I want to say for like a whole month before I finally decided to do anything. And then I sat by the moon. I sat by the water underneath the full moon and I released my baby. I sat and I cried and I talked and I wrote and I released him. And I told him that all I want is for him to be happy and for him to be proud of me. If that's all I can do in this life, like that's really all that I want. And I know that I would get my time with him again. He was just too big for this world. I know that. I feel it. I feel it in my heart, you know? But I'm gonna get my moments with him again.
Oh, absolutely.
It just wasn't in this lifetime. And I'm okay with that.
Right.
So now I choose to do things to make him proud. I started to really dive deep into myself. I realized that I needed something more. I was tired of living the life that I was living. I wanted to be able to help other women. And I started to create a business. And creating that business really saved me. I used all of the pain that I had gone through to help me build something that is flourishing. And truthfully, I give all of my thanks to him because he changed who Enisa Cologne is. Enisa Cologne now is not the Enisa Cologne I was in 2020.
Right.
And I owe that to baby McKinney. So
Wow.
I'm forever indebted to him.
Wow. I love that perspective. And I feel like as a community, we always have to look after one another. And that's why I always tell people, be kind, because you don't know what someone's going through. And so that one person with those words changed her life. So then you think about if she never had that person who spoke life into her, where would she be? And so we always have to be kind and speak, life into people, not, beat them down when they're going through. That's when we need to lift them up. That's when we need it most. And it's just amazing to see your transformation. Like you said, you not the same person you were before. And we understand what motivated you to evolve into the person that you are today. Share a little bit now about your life. I know we talked about your business, but when you look back in 2020, who you were and who you are now, what's the difference?
I feel like the girl in 2020 prior to 2020, she was just very carefree. She just lived life in survival mode. She worked a job just to pay her bills. She indulged in anytime there was fun, like she wanted to be there, like that was just who she was. Like she was just always a good time. Carefree, loving. There's still core qualities of her that I still carry today, but I want to say like the biggest difference between her to now is that I live in my purpose every day. Every single move I make is for my greater good, the greater good of my children, the greater good of my children's children, the greater good of my sisters and my mother and my stepfather. Like I know that what happened to me had to change me to make me who I am today. And who I am today is she's just ready to take on the world. All those chains that held my family down, all the chains that held me down, they're breaking. We're breaking them.
I love that.
And the girl in 2020 did not think like that at all.
Right.
I was perfectly fine with working on someone's clock. I work on someone's clock still to this day, and it is the hardest thing for me to do because it's not my purpose no more.
Amen to that.
But I know where I'm at right now. Right. It's not time to make that switch, but it's coming because he's making it so uncomfortable. It's every day. It's like and this is a job that I loved. I mean, when you couldn't tell me nothing about adjusting vehicles and accidents, like that was my stuff, you know. But now I look at it as a waste of time. I look at it as I'm slaving for someone else's dream when I have my own dream in the back working. Like,
oh
and
wow,
it is so hard. So yeah, if I could say anything, that would be like the biggest difference between Enisa is, and I would also say Enisa loves Enisa. I've gained my love back. Enisa in 2020 was still trying to find love from an 11-year relationship, 11-year relationship that tore her down, that belittled her. When I left that relationship, I really didn't know who I was. I was mentally broken down. The only thing that I knew that I was a good mom. Like, could nobody tell me nothing? I knew I was a good mom. That was it. You know, now I'm more than a good mom.
Absolutely.
You know, and I love every single part of me, the good, the bad, the in between. And if the ones that don't, they don't got to, because I love me. And this is the first time that I've ever loved myself the way that I love myself. And I think it's very noticeable because I get a lot of compliments on it.
Right. You shining, girl. You shining.
Yes. Thank you.
But that's the interesting thing, though. Sometimes we go through things, and in the midst of it, it's like I said, the storm. And that's why I like your perspective that you celebrate in the midst of the storms, because that helps build us. That helps make us. And transformation is the key. You know, because sometimes we go through stuff, but it's pushing us outside of our comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Because if it didn't happen, it wouldn't have pushed us outside of our comfort zone and transformed you into the person that you are. Because sometimes we need a fresh start. We need to start all over. We need a new me. And it seems like you have found your new person. And speaking of that, because I know you mentioned your businesses, and because God has evolved you into a business owner, you a boss girl. And I want you to share with everybody, you have 2 businesses and probably more to come, but I want you to share with everybody your businesses and also, your social media and how they can buy products from you. Put that out there.
So I am a 2-time business owner. I own Ravishing Stationery LLC. We make 2023 planners. This is our 2nd year around. So this is our 2nd edition of our planners. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of stationery. So notepads, stickers, different things like that. We have little bookmarks that go into the planners. Anything to keep you guys organized, engaged, focused. That's the whole goal behind Ravishing. I know when I lost baby McKinney, I really had to get back on track. And once I started to write my goals and get really organized, that's when life really started to make a turn for me, because I wasn't just thinking about these things, I was writing them. I was looking back at them every day. Like, I was really utilizing my goals for me and not just thinking of them, But as I was searching for places to write my goals, I could not find anything that was, 1, had everything in one place, and 2, that wasn't basic. I was tired of looking at these planners that just have these white pages and big old boxes for no reason. And, it just was not cute. It wasn't cute. So I decided that I was going to be the one to make the planners. So I went ahead and I started to make planners, and I'll show you guys the one from this year. So this year's, they're very motivational.
Love it.
The cover says, I trust the next chapter, because I know the author. Because again, when you take control of your life, you know what's going to happen. Yeah. But it's the whole taking control of your life thing is where it starts. You have to take control over your life. So that's why I chose that quote for this year, because it's really where I'm at right now. And I know a lot of people need that reminder, that you really are in control of your next chapter, because you write your book. That's right. So in here it is a 12-month planner. They're all tabbed, all months are tabbed. And then they all have mood trackers for you to track your months. I need to catch up on mine. But they have the mood trackers. We have shopping list, there's
Yes.
budget planners, there's reflections, there's calendars, blank pages, note pages, everything. But I just really wanted to create something that, again, kept everything that we needed in one place, making it a size that was easy to fit into bags. So again, that they were with us at all times, because again, I'm very big for technology, but I really like paper, and I want to be able to, oh, I have an appointment, pull it out and just jot it down and not have to go back to my mobile device to do things like that. So that was the whole thing about making sure that it was, a compact size to be able to be versatile and to fit bags and purses. So,
Right.
but yeah, that's my first one. And then my second business is Soulful Salsa. I have a salsa company, not salsa, but salsa.
Right. And it looks so yummy too, by the way.
I get that a lot. Definitely not a dancer at all. But yes, I make fresh salsa, alkaline ingredients. I do it mostly, I started in summer, but I'll start going back come springtime, because right now the vegetable selection just isn't the prettiest. And it's time for planners. So it keeps me pretty much balanced throughout the year, which I absolutely love. And then, but yeah, those are my two businesses. And I have some things that I've been working on coming up, but I haven't dropped them yet. So you'll just have to stay tuned to hear more.
So make sure you all follow her on Ravishing Stationery, and then
Yes.
Soulful with F-U-L-L Salsa.
Yes.
So make sure you check out her Facebook and also her Instagram pages and follow her so you can see what her next things are happening and things like, and also to purchase from her, because I'm about to purchase my planner. I am going to do that. Yes. And like one of our church mothers is on here, Sister Elsie, like she said, the Bible says, write the vision, make it plain. And
yes.
I'm big on writing my vision. Every year, I don't call them, what do we do? Resolutions. I don't
Correct.
call them that. Those are my goals, and I write down what I want to grow in personally, financially, and career-wise. And I promise y'all, every year I surpass them. Mm-hmm. And I be blown away, because then I look back on what I wrote and I'm like, God, you are so good. Mm-hmm. And so I would encourage anybody, when you write the vision, write it down so you can see it. And also it helps to remind you, okay, what do I need to be doing?
Yes.
What, and like Anissa said, your purpose, you got to get on track, because if you're living this world with no goals, then what are you living for? What are you doing? Wasted time. Mm-hmm. And so now we're going to get into the other part of my acronym. Now we're going to get into the R, reveal your truth. And so today you sat here and revealed your truth, but I want to get a little bit deeper. You talked about earlier about your family and breaking chains. I want to talk about breaking generational curses. And something you shared with me in our initial meeting was that, you wasn't raised to be an entrepreneur. And so share a little bit more about that.
So growing up, I'm Latina, I'm Puerto Rican. My family has lived in the States my whole life. But my mom and dad were born on the island. Growing up in a Hispanic household, well, at least mine, was all you seen was work, work, work. They all worked, everybody worked, and it was to provide, you know what I mean? But when I think back, there were not many entrepreneurs, at least not in my household. Not even close by, uncles and aunts and stuff like that. I don't remember knowing of entrepreneurship. All I see my mom was work for another person's dream. My mom recently retired, so she is no longer working for another person's dream, which I'm extremely excited for her. Right. But again, living in that survival mode, that's part of it. Right. Not knowing where to go, what to do, how to maneuver, and for me, I really feel like that saying that they say, it ran into my family until it ran into me. Mm-hmm. That's me. Like it truly ran in my family until it ran into me. Again, the loss of baby McKinney is what shifted my whole perspective. And I realized life was short. I realized that anything could happen to me. What legacy am I leaving to my children? I'm the only thing my children really have. So if something were to happen to me, what am I showing them? So like everything started to like really matter. It became enhanced in a sense. And I knew it was time. So I started doing my work as far as putting things together, building my businesses. I started involving my children. My oldest and our first planners, he did all of the tabs because it was so time consuming, and he's very artistic. So I'm like, all right, come on, boy, you gotta figure this out with me.
Put in the
You know
work.
what I mean? Like, we gotta figure this out. So he would do the tabs for me. My youngest is really big on sales. So he would always wake up, hey mom, how much money we make?
Love that.
He would do the drop off to the post office and stuff like that. But getting them involved to see, because I want them to see different. All I knew was work, go to college, work, go to college. College and school was not a thing for me. I never got excited, about school or college, not to discredit that, but to me, it just was not my path. And that's okay. You know what I mean? But I need my children to see that they have options. And yes, I want you to go to college and I want you to do these things. But if in your heart, and you have a passion and your purpose is something else, as your mother, I want to help you through that, At this moment, both my kids are ready to go to college, so I'm perfectly fine with that. but they see the entrepreneur side. They know it's available. They know how to operate it because they're with me at all times, having the conversations with my sisters, having discussions with my mom, seeing my mom hold my planners, seeing her work, and putting labels on my jars for my very first market, like seeing these things come to fruition, which again is my word for 2023. Seeing all of the seeds that I've planted come to life is everything for me.
Beautiful, yeah.
And I know that in doing that, by me starting to do the work, everyone is really starting to fall into line and everything is moving how it needs to move. And those chains are breaking. We may not see them. We may not hear them, but they are breaking. The opportunities that are being presented to my family members, to myself, they're only going to keep coming because we're doing the work.
Absolutely.
You don't get anything by just wishing for it. You have to do the work.
Right.
So we're out here really doing the work. And I'm just really excited to see, like I said, me and my sister were just talking about this the other day. She's like, Unisa, when you talk about your business, like the passion, like your vision. And I'm like, it's huge. I know. She's like, it is. It's like such on a big scale. And I said, the craziest thing about it all is if I don't see not one penny from it, I'll be okay. Because I know my children's children will see all of the pennies from it.
Yeah.
So like the longevity in it, the not just doing it for a season, but doing it because this is what I'm being called to do. This is my purpose. And I stand 10 toes down and I will grind to the very end because I know this is what Enisa's supposed to be doing.
Right.
He's not only put it in me, but he keeps guiding me and giving me the opportunities that I would have never thought I would have because I've listened, because for the first time in my life, I've said, I'm done fighting against this. I'm done. I've always been into church. I've always prayed, but to truly give yourself to God, to truly say, you know what, I'm done. I'm listening. What is it that you need from me?
Right.
And to truly listen and do, because again, nothing is given without action. So you can't just listen. You have to listen and do. The roads that he's opened, the path that he's paved, speak for itself.
Amen.
And I had to, like, if anybody can use anybody as an example, it could be Enisa, because I've never spoke like I've always been a godly woman.
Mm-hmm.
I've always used to go to church with my mom growing up. You know, I speak to God in my own ways. But when I say, Enisa, don't move unless God said to move, I don't move unless God said to move.
I know that's right.
And they could think of me as anything they want. But if I sit with it and he said, Enisa, nope, guess what? Enisa ain't moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that I can't go to nobody. The only person that I could go to is God.
All right. There you go. There you go. Oh
because
my God.
he's going to give me exactly what I need.
Right. Absolutely.
Because I'm not just asking, I'm doing his work every day.
Mm-hmm.
His will, what does it say? His way, his will, his bill. And he's proven that. Alicia, I started my business with negative 27 cents in my bank account. My first day, the first day I dropped them planners last year, I made enough to pay my rent.
See, God is good. God is good.
But I had to obey. I had to listen to what he put in me. And I had to move in a way that I knew no matter what I was going to go through, because I went through it. It has not been easy. It's been extremely difficult. I've had times where I just wanted to give up because nothing was working out. Everything felt like it was in my way. Right. But he made a way every time.
And he will.
And by doing that, I no longer wake up and think about the stresses of the day. I wake up with gratitude. Thank you, God. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for letting me have this problem.
Right.
Do you understand? Like, thank you, because I know I got it, but I know you're going to get me through it. So thank you for letting me teach me the lesson so we don't got to go through it again.
Right.
And that's really how I live my life now. I don't fret. I don't worry. I don't argue. I'm not going to go back and forth with nobody. I'm going to do what I need to do, because the only person that's going to guide me is God.
Right. There you go.
If you don't like how I'm moving, sit down and take it up with him, because he's the only one that's going to change it.
I love it, girl. You got so much love in this chat. Everybody's getting hard. You got me over here like, oh, sis now. Amen.
I had to learn it.
So, I mean, you have said so much wonderful things, like for real. Like, it's all about being obedient to God. Yes. And I mean, I feel you so much, because just like 2 years ago, I mean, I got down on my knees praying because I still was looking for purpose, even at my age of young 40, 42 at that time. You know, saying I was just really praying, and it's like God showed me the vision clearly of what he wanted me to do. And when I tell y'all, when you know your purpose, life seems just so different. And like you said, he makes a way. I'm an introvert. I don't like talking in front of people. I like to sit at the house. And next thing you know, I really wanted to speak on larger platforms. And yes, this is one platform, but I have speaking engagements lined up. I mean, I'm going to conferences here and there and everywhere, speaking on what I do as a social worker. And it's just how God keeps opening these doors for me. People are now, spoke for one time before. Now they're calling, asking me to come back again because they enjoyed it so much. So it's like God would give you the tools. There's sometimes I don't think I'm good enough. Like, girl, I don't think I can do that. I'm not the greatest speaker. I don't use all the big words. I'm still a country girl. But be authentically you. That's what I have learned. I'm true to myself. I'm true to my purpose, because if God has given it to you, he's going to make a way. And you're going to shine because it's for God. And that's why I give God the glory for everything that happens with me. And if you see any of my posts, I always put in God is good, because it's not me. It's God, because Alicia will be at the house sitting on her sofa. I won't be out here talking to these people. But truly, when you become obedient and you follow your purpose, life is so much different. And that's really is. And then I like what you said about leaving a legacy. And as a single mom, I feel you, because it's just me. And so I have taught my daughter early on. She has her own business. She started her own business at 8. She has her products in a store, about to get her products in another store. We do vendor festivals and things like that all the time, because I'm teaching her. Because if something was to happen to me, I want her to be self-sufficient. I want her to know how to run a business. I want her to know how to manage money, because the thing is too, people make money, but you have to be a good steward of your money. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because you can make a whole lot of money, but if you're not good with finances, you're just as broke. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I teach
Absolutely.
her all of those things, so that she can be on her own if something was to happen to me, because I'm all she has. Yes, I have my parents and my sisters, but I'm truly her, all she has, because my parents are getting older, my sisters have their own life. So I look at all that, and as a single parent, and just as a parent in general, I would encourage you to teach your children those small things and those small tools. And as Anissa said, we're sowing seeds. I'm big on sowing seeds because it's going to come to fruition at the end, at the end of the day. So sometimes I tell my daughter stuff and I don't think she's listening. And then later on, she will say something. I'm like, she got it. She got it. So I think that's really huge, and just breaking the generational curses. Sister, you are doing it. And like you said, I didn't even know the part about your father, being an alcoholic and things like that. And like you said earlier, you think you're going to do something different, but because of what you grew up in and what sometimes you end up doing those same behaviors. But it can stop. You can change it. No one can change it but you. You don't have to be the same. And I just like that you've taken your life and you said, hey, I'm going to be different. But not only am I going to be different for myself, I'm going to be different for my children and their children, and as years to come, and just the rest of my family, and also teaching my mom that there's better, and loving on her and showing her all that sacrifice you made. I'm here to make it better for you. So I love it all. And so what would you tell your old self?
She made it.
Yes, you did. I like it.
I remember sitting in the bathtub thinking I would never laugh, that I would never smile, that I would never have a good day. And I don't live my life like that. I smile, I laugh, I enjoy the good company that I have around me. Genuine people who truly care. And yeah, she made it. She didn't let the thing that was supposed to break her break her. Mm-hmm. She truly is a survivor.
Yes, you are. Yes, indeed. And now getting to the last letter of my acronym, obtaining your goals and happiness. And you just kind of talked about that, like you made it. How do you define your happiness at this point in your life?
Happiness to me is seeing my children, seeing them every day, being able to see my mom. It's the things that people take for granted are my happiness. I cherish moments more now than ever before. And I think that's truly what makes me happiest, is when I'm in those moments with my family, creating their core memories. Like that's my happiest.
Right.
I just want to be a better me, so that way they can be a better them.
Right. I love that. And I think too, when people lose a loved one, you look at life differently. Like you said, you're grateful for the small things. And I think that's something to tell everyone in the audience, especially this day and time. People are dying left and right. This world is getting so evil, actually. You could be in the grocery store and somebody decide they want to come and shoot up the place, and you can be an innocent bystander. But it's like we have to live our life with purpose, and like it's our last day. And that's how I look at it every single day. Like, I don't want nobody disturbing my peace. I don't have time to argue with people. I don't have time to hold grudges, because tomorrow is not promised.
Absolutely.
And so we have to be grateful for the little things. And I think too, with this society, is always we won't. We won't, but we forget to be grateful for what we have.
Correct.
And I think for me, because I've worked in this field for so long, and I've worked in hospitals, and I see people with stage 4 cancer. I see people who are really sick, and they still have this great perspective on life. And so sometimes I put myself in their shoes and be like, if today was my last day, what would I be doing? And so it can't be me bickering with people, having issues with people. And like, I would really encourage people, if you have a beef with someone or you haven't forgiven someone, do that. Don't hold that. Don't live your life going that way. It's not worth it. And so happiness is working within yourself. Like you said, finding that peace.
Absolutely.
And worrying about, don't be worrying about all this other stuff. Stop comparing yourself to people. Like I tell my clients all the time, comparison is the thief of joy. Be
Absolutely.
you. Do you. Do what
Yes.
God called you to be. And you ain't gonna worry about the rest. You're gonna be happy because you focus on your stuff.
Exactly. Stay in your lane. Just stay in your lane.
So what is next for you, Enisa?
So Miss Alicia, the old Enisa would just be like, but the new Enisa knows that sometimes allowing the next to be spoken too soon, not everybody's really happy for you. So I just want to say I have a lot of things in store. Like, don't get me wrong. So make sure you guys hit that follow button. We have a lot of things coming out pretty soon. And then again, like Alicia said, Facebook, Ravishing Stationery, and Instagram, Ravishing Stationery, or Soulful Salsa on both. But as far as Enisa's just expanding. That's what we'll leave it at.
There you
We're
go.
evolving and elevating.
There you go. I love it. And I love what you just said. You don't tell everybody everything you're doing, because
I'm learning that.
There's gonna be those naysayers, and there's gonna be those people who then put a damper on your vision. So you keep that between you
and God.